Okay, now I'm very pleased to welcome our moderator for the next two sessions. That's Francois Xavier Basselot, Water Market Director, Atkins, and he will be introducing the next two panels. So will you please welcome Francois Basselot.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm quite pleased to see that the room is not empty yet, despite the time. I think without further introductions, as I think we're all eager to hear from Dr. El Amar, I'm going to introduce him. He's the Governance Advisor for the Electricity Cogeneration Regulatory Authority in Saudi Arabia, and he's going to come and present around Saudi Arabian's desalination strategy at the minute, and afterwards we'll have a bit of a chat, the two of us, in terms of certain points from his presentation. Thanks again.
All right. Okay, so assalamu alaikum. I would like to thank you all for coming over. This is one of the studies that's been done by ICRA, just to illustrate what we need exactly to regulate the industry of that's actually, the business. I got a lot of slides, so bear with me. Try to catch me up. I'll go very fast, if I may. He lost 5 minutes of mine, so I'm gonna be a little bit of the faster. So if I'm gonna be a little faster, don't give me, tickets, but raise your hand, just say some, slow down a little bit, okay? All right, so without further ado, actually, now I'm gonna go to the introductions, and then we're gonna get you about, what's basically the main trends about, the desalination industry in the world. And then coming to the local within the kingdom, what's the main trends? What's the issue and the problems? And then getting further to tell you what's the lessons learned out of that for the desalination industry, and telling you just impacting the, the security of supply. This is one of the main issue, not only for the Saudi Arabia, but also about, the GCC. And then going to the proposed regulatory frameworks. One of the regulatory frameworks is to have it, and then to tell you what are the main aspects to go through that, and then just go about it to the integrated water planning, and then just to conclude. I hope I got about actually now 32 slides, so I'm gonna go just a little bit actually. What's the ICRA? ICRA actually, doing by the royal orders, it's to do the cogen as well as, electricity. So basically, it's done by the order. I'm dated by 2004, 2007. And this is actually, just to go through, this is actually to develop, implement stable, protect the rights, ensures, I believe, RSP in the morning, give you the more West regulatory about, the points. So it's almost actually, the same things. Just to go about the water study, the water industry in the kingdom, we have, if you look at the water demand, we have the majority coming from the agriculture, which is more or less to all of the, the GCC, a little bit. And then the residential coming to 12%, industrial is actually 4%. If you take the residential, okay, and going to disaggregate that, we have about 61 coming from desalination, and 39 coming from the groundwater. And of course, that one, it's somehow screwed a little bit. If you go to the desalination industry, the majority coming from one of the license that we give the license to is about, the SWIC. It's a saline water conversion, the cooperation, 60%. And then the other is the Shuaiba Water Electricity Company, Jubail, and the others, including, the others actually. If you go to the, technology itself, the MSF technology is the dominant right now, and we have MED 5%, and RO it's about 21%, and this is more or less like the other quite the companies. So, and we are hoping, by the way, one of the things that's for the Vision 2030, and one of the things that's for the NTP is a little bit just to move on and just to enhance the energy efficiency, basically. Going further, so what's about that study is about? It's just to develop the regulatory framework to regulate and evaluate and to monitor performance of this industry, this particular industry, and to help ICRA, the regulator, to do its job, basically. So we got three main, quite, the pillars. One is to go to the global trends, and then go to the local trends, and then try to find out what's going to be the best interest to develop. I mean, of course, the lessons learned out of this actually benchmark in order to develop, to propose the regulatory frameworks, as well as to propose some quite, initiatives, and of course the implementation for the roadmap. This is something that's actually related to each other. This is one of the good slides that I would like you just to bear with me about. Every one of them we're going to go about that actually. The first 6 blue boxes is about the global, and the 3 down there is about the KSA, the main trends actually. What's the first one? Is we have trends right now with the globally speaking, that the growth of the global, the capacity, that's a little bit was up and then a little bit actually, going down. We're gonna go as a result of that impact the expenditure actually, basically. The second was about, technical. We have look at the improvement, very high improvement in the past years with respect to the RO, and that's driving for higher adoption for the RO basically. And that's we're gonna look at one at, the seconds. Technical economic trends, if you look at, of course, the energy efficiency, MAD, MSF, it's like consumed a lot of kilowatt hour compared to the RO, and that's leading to improvement to the, operation cost. The next one is to look at, well, is there renewable desalination? We talked about that one just, before, and it was into, the morning. We're gonna just get to actually, but still there remains, if you try to compare between the fossil fuel and the renewable, the fossil fuel is still there. I mean, although, and then we need some quite, R&Ds on that. Regulatory and the legal things, this is again, we need to focus. Many things that have been trained globally to the environment, the quality, and that's leading to the very strict licensing. Globally speaking, they would not give it if you do some damages to the environment, do some damages with respect to the quality, the quality things. Finally, is about politics, looking about the instability into the regions. That's one of the things, and the other one is about the cyber attacks. That could be one of them. That could be threatening the the security of supply. Locally speaking, we have very high growth demands, not only in Saudi Arabia but also of all of the the GCC states, and we're going to be mitigated looking at the demand side. The old school looking to produce, transmit, distribute. Can we stay at the demand side and do something about that? This is, one of the quite the trends. The technical economics is we have a very high availability of the gas, and this is, I think it's almost happened here. So can we use it instead of burning the liquid fuel, HFO, and the diesel? And the last one is the legal, institutional change. We're going to look at it from the, utility change. And that's, of course, that's going to impact a little bit to the desalination, players. If someone would like, actually, for example, the government, for the public and the private one. So let's go one by one for really quick. The first one, which is, if you can see, the first block, actually, talking to the global seawater is, boom, shooting like this way. This is coming from the global water report, actually, that's coming from last year. If you look at this one here, there's like slow down a little bit because the financial crisis in 2009 and 8, but it's going up, it's picking up again. Next one is, if you look at before for the seawaters, RO versus MAD and MSF, you look at before, it was like the thermal power plant is like dominant, but right now it's picking up for the RO. Globally speaking, we say that the RO is dominant one than the thermal, unlike the Saudi Arabia, and I believe happening so at here and the other the GCC states. Going further, if you look at the thermal desalination, what are the preference right now? We have a rapidly available, okay, the subsidies actually. It's a very simple, coincident large, you can use it, very simple for MAD and MSF. The high salinity of the East Coast, specifically the Arabian Gulf, which is, it will make it very viable to use MAD and MSF. And of course, familiarity with the thermal technologies. Not only did it happen to the SWIC, it happened to Shuaiba, but also happened to the HERES as well at all of the GCC. And to the other side, what are the drivers globally for the RO? It's a lower energy. For example, the higher quality of the consumption for the RO is much, much lower than, the other one. Reduce environmental, the footprint. because I don't have to burn something. I need just only, to connect it within, the grid. The next one is the increased robustness and production, the net size, and of course the sharp decrease at the membrane. We have encountered the membrane cost a little bit going, further down. Next one, we have saying about the global trends. It's a desalination, technology, which is continues to be, enhanced. We have looked at the thermal, distils, reliability. We have looked at the optimized mechanical design, as well as to increase the units. With respect to the RO, we have to see that the increased energy recovery efficiency, and this is actually one of the trend, evolving the membrane, as we say, that's about, the cost is going a little bit down, and the reduction at the pre-treatment cost. And one of the things about in RO, many people that saying or try to claim is about pre-treatment, and pre-treatment as well as is going down and down, which make it more favorable to go with the quiet, the RO. Desalination, renewable energy desalination. Here are some of the examples. We're still looking at at that. What you have seen here is the fossil fuel is still, but we need some little bit about improvement. This is about, by the way, this is about for the isolated area. You see that the kingdom is very wide, so we need some isolated area. So if you look, for example, RO with the PV, that might cost a lot. But if you look to the MSF within the thermal, that will make it less because of the storage for the battery is still quite high. But we are anticipated it will come down a little bit. Next one is about the stricter, regulation, environmental. Again, I think that's going to be, speak for itself. The next one for, very restrictions for the subsidies, and that mechanism supposed to be provide somehow, incentives. National Transformation Program 2020 deal with that, and the fiscal budget program it's actually deal with that just to help. The permit and the license, as I mentioned to you, if you're damaging the quality, if you're damaging the environment, they'll be very huge. And that's, one of the global, basically, the threats. The next one is about the cyber attacks. We countered many, actually, the cyber attacks without going to what are the source, what are the things that might be one of the problems there. And instability in the regions, that might be, again, one of the, basically, the trends. Let's go to the kingdom, actually. If you look at, to the kingdom right now, we could see about 7.5 million cubic meter per day. And we are somehow, if you're going to go like this actually business as usual, we're going to go to the actually 11.5 by 2030. We are hoping that many things it's supposed to be getting lower, actually. Otherwise, we are burning a lot of quite the fuels. High population growth of the, the industry, the economy, urbanization is, of course, as well as we have, the tariff change, the DSM, the supply side, concentrates, for example, supplying, the fuel. That's what will make some, the demand, desalination things. The last thing is actually before going to last is increasing reliance on the natural gas. Right now, what we have right now is mix of the fuel, liquid fuel, HFO, and the diesel, large consumptions. And so we have it because the fuel, all of the players are getting from Saudi Aramco the fuel at low prices, actually not about international prices, and then actually that's impact the efficiency, a large share of the the shares. What we expecting the trends that's going to be happening, it's going to be high more relying into the gas, which means that we have strict control over the choice, the technology for the efficiencies, basically. Of course, we have to look at, the subsidies as well. The last one, which is the expanding the scope of the regulation. We have to look at, as a regulator, to regulate the government, the public, and the private with the same manner. There is no one is actually will be, the top of the others, actually. Privatization, changing customer landscape, this is one of the things. And one of the things from the Vision 2030 is to expand that subject, actually, how to try to kick that side is actually into, into the private things. Reform of the tariffs, and this is just to promoting better financial. And this again, the budget program that's been produced 3 weeks ago. I believe it talks about how to reform it, chapter 3, to reform the price of the water and energy. And by 2020, that's what he said, we're going to go for the international prices. How are you going to look at the security of supply things? If you look at it financially, environmentally, and the quality, availability, and how to be actually to have it, bear actually the supply. Look at actually everyone. Some of them is a negative impact. Some of them actually is the positive impact. For example, let's actually know financial things. Adoption of the RO, that's a good thing. Energy efficiency for financial, that's actually no good thing. But the growth in the capacity, that will have a negative things. If you look at, for example, the quality, if you look at the renewable energy integration, that will be good things. But if you look at the water demand growth, that will be a little bit of the other side. Environmentally, again, the water demand growth, which is we have to control it. You have to tackle the red one. You have to tackle it in a way or quite the others. And the last one, which is how to make the supply at steady state, actually. Physical cyber attacks, that will be actually, the bad thing or, negative impacts. The next one is actually, we'll look at different the countries. And this is basically, we look at, the USA, Spain, UAE, Australia, benchmark it globally, and then how to look at it within hours, actually, we compare it. What we found out is actually legal. Both public and private utilities are equally treated, actually. We look at the public-private participating, actually. Private sector involvement, mainly through, the boot type. Planning project collaboration between the sector's players should be effective. Financial and commercial operations into, the commercial, the basis. And the other one is about technical, high focus into energy efficiency, and specifically to the adoption of the RO. And the last thing is about people. KSA got a lot of experience with respect, as well as the UAE, as well as the other the GC actually states basically. So how to form the principle of the regulatory form? 4 principles. Any law, if any one of you guys is working with the law, working with the regulation, he will know those principles. Make it clear, make it transparent, make it enhance performance and flexible adaptability. All of this one, you're supposed to have it within your law in order to attract, the investors, basically. For the main regulations that's going to be effective over there, economic regulation, competition regulation, system planning regulations, and technical regulations, license regulations, monitoring enforcement regulations. All of these, if you're going to look at it from that side, you can see the 4 pillars that we talk about. If you look at it from the right side, you can see the 6 pillars, that one. So every one of these, it has to be cross-linked with, everyone. That means we're going to have 24 boxes. You have to fix it, and you have to write it up into your law, basically. So if you miss any of these things, the investor might not come to be very, actually, attractive. I'm sorry, I'm going to go a little bit faster. So what we propose, actually, we're supposed to have a very low electricity and desalination law. Right now, we have a electricity law. We are hoping to be approved the electricity and desalination law. The next one, which is from the top down, we have the regulations, which is that's going to be actually the implementing regulations. The licensees for all over actually no. By the way, the dark blue is the approved one, while the light blue is just, that's what we're going to update it actually, basically. Of course, the code is going to be just actually, the sub of quite the levels. Some of the countries that GCC, like Oman, sometimes they mix between the regulation and the laws within one. That's another school of thoughts, but that's what we're going to go for, the KSA. Next one, what's the commercial agreement? What's the current status between? If you look at the SWIC, which is the high producer in the world, how are they treating? SWIC getting the fuel from Saudi Aramco, and then sell out the electricity to the SEC, and they sell out to the whole of the distribution, Directrix and NWC, National Water Requited Company, and we have some bulk just to buy, the water. Of course, we got some remaining there, IWPPs and Jawab and Water Electricity Company and Tawreed, all of these coming as, of the takers. What are the most enabling for the commercial agreement? Number one is you have to strictly to have the form of the commercial agreement, the form that's going to be agreed between every one of them. The second one is you need to define the coastal location between each one of the players, basically. The second one is the obligation to obtain the approvals. And then this is one of the ICRA can play, is just actually to look after about the obligations and the right as well. The last one is you're supposed to enable the mechanism placed before, just to make it done, which means that you cannot just make it enforced without trying to let all of the players that's going to be there. Again, those commercial agreements, right now, it's not based on the commercial agreement, but you have to make it into, commercial agreement, and this is, again, it's based into, the NTP, the National, the Transformation Program. Are we going to go for desalination only? The question is not. The question is not. We're supposed to go for the groundwater as well. We cannot leave the groundwater. I hope, with respect to the the panelists, we're going to speak a little bit about the agriculture and how this beast basically tried to consume the water. Look at the demands there. Look at the outputs there. You have to have integrated planning, not only between the desalination and the groundwater, but between the water and the electricity. These things just to enhance financial efficiencies. The last thing is what would be the enablers, things that could help us to do for the integrated plan. Number one is alignment with the long-term planning. This is coming from the ministry. The water resource definition. Many people have defined it. If I ask any one of you to define it, it will be different. Clarification of the interdependencies between the water and the electricities. Business case for technology adoptions between electricity and the water. We are not alone. I'm not going to play as a one-member family. No, I have to be dealing with my brother, the electricity as well. The assessment of habilitation of the existing plant. This is, again, one of the things. Do you think 35 years is going to be the good way to kill the plant, or should I just give it one more time? This is, again, actually the recommended regulatory framework just for the improvement. If you look at the sector from 1 to 6 that we're talking about, every one of them we give some quite like a plan to do every one of them. Okay, initiatives. Line to the water integrated plan, define published performance standards, working into to make the commercial agreement plan. To conclude, actually, and I'm sorry that I was a little bit faster, and I hope you caught me. You catch me a little bit. But I will be available, today and tomorrow. So if you don't understand, just come back to me if you have any the comment or the questions. Number one is regulating industry will bring benefits all players, not only to the government, public, but also to the private. Issuing the new sector law is a must, actually. You have to issue the law and make it very clear based into the pillars that we talked about. The privatization of the sectors, again, this is one of the things. And the National Transformation Program and the Fiscal Budget Program is talking about this actually a lot. So this, again, energy efficiency is the key here. You cannot just burning the oil, burning like this without looking at the kilowatt hour, actually, how much it's going to. Further cooperation is needed to enhance integrated. Of course, you need everyone to come over, all of the players to come over, private, public, government, all of them just to come over. With this slide, I will conclude my presentation. I hope I finished it within time, Francois. Thank you so much for listening.
Hi, can you hear me? Yeah. Thank you, Issam. Probably a couple of questions, I guess, before we move on. I'm sure a lot of people have got a lot of questions on the back of your presentation. Interestingly, you talk about all the actions that needs to be developed. Can you tell us a bit more about the timeline, actually, and where you are at the minute?
Can you repeat the question, because there is like an echo there.
That's okay. I was just wondering if you can enlighten us about where ICRA is in regards to developing a number of actions that are required in order to enforce and implement the sort of regulatory changes that you're pushing for.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, the SWIC, one of the things that we'd like to ICRA to the job to look at, how to make a SWIC private. One of the things that's just to push, actually. The thing is to monitor, the cost And the other thing is to monitor, the commercial, the agreement. The paying on and off between Aramco and the company, the SWIC, and the SEC and the SWIC. Because if you remember the commercial agreement, everyone is going to take something. I'm going to take from you electricity. I'm going to give you some fuels. I'm going to take from you some water, etc. All of this is going to be at the commercial agreement. If you're going to miss that or make it less cost, it will not going to be actually quite going to happen. As a result, in the past years, we got some trouble with the quality. As a result of that, we have a little bit of the problems, for example, about the cost. Some of them is asking for the others about the loans. Some of them asking about debts. All of these things, ICRA, it could try just to help. But again, the National Transformation Program and the Vision 2030 is pushing above an ICRA, above all of them, to go to that actually the directions. Okay?
Okay, I'm not sure if we had a response on timeline.
Oh, okay.
I think the question is, and I think, we'll go on.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is an excellent presentation. I've been working with this for a while. The issue is always time, and this regulation will take time to develop.
Yeah.
The right question, how long will it take for these to be ready for the private sector to look at them and say, yes, we are ready for...
In order to have an effective regulation for that sectors, SWIC got to be private, commercial agreement, and the law. All of these three got to be done. We have about the timeline of 3 to 4 years to do that, and that's going to be done. I mean, by the way, we have started the last year. SWIC, as speaking right now, is going to go further. Actually, it will not be as quite private. It will have a lot of productions, the company. It will go to the transmission company. It's going to go for a lot of these things, which means that you're going to have some knives and then try to cut the SWIC that way. His Excellency, the Governor of the SWIC, he mentioned just before, within the 2 years they're supposed to finish it up. Next, the 2 months, they will ask the private to come over, actually. And we have, as the NTP, again, National Transformation Program, by 2020, we're supposed to go from 16% to 52% to ask the strategic partner to come over. So right now, as speaking, we have about, private is about, that much. We're supposed to have 50% of the production of the water got to be, coming from quite private, actually. So I can tell you, by 2020, all of this got to be done. All of this got to be finished. Whether you like it or not, someone will do it.
And I'm seeing the time, but I'm going to ask another one. Sorry about that. Pragmatically as well, how is that going to be enforced back into the existing facilities, and how are you going to be able to realign the existing sort of production sites with the new ones that are going to come up once you've sort of embarked into the journey? And have you got an idea already? I think, as you said, there's a great discrepancy in terms of the process and the treatment side, in terms of obviously the outcomes, in terms of some of the KPIs that you might want to apply to. Have you got an idea on this?
Actually, if you look to how to make the people do it, give me the teeth. Give me the teeth in the law, and I can enforce the people to do it. One of the things that the regulator is looking after, once you have the law, you need to give him the sticks, actually, just to punish anyone somehow to violate it, the KPI. And it's not happening right now. This is what we're looking to the new law, to the updated, the law. Globally speaking, if you look to the Spain, if you look to the the US, even here, I believe so, the regulator has the teeth, okay? But in the Saudi Arabia, it's a little bit, it's not. So it's kind of talking to each other just to make sure, but sometimes that's not what quite, happening. So as a benchmarking globally, if you don't follow the KPI that we agreed on, I'm going to hit you. That's as simple as that.
Okay, thanks. Well, it looks like we're looking for ECRA being much more active into enforcing regulation. Can we give a round of applause to Omar, please? And we'll find him anyway on the next panel. Thank you.